Hey folks, Malforian here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at Dev Diary 141 for Crusader Kings 3, a year in review, and a little bit different to how the Dev Diary is actually set out, because the first half of this is the year in review, 2023. I've already done a video about that. It came out a couple of weeks ago. It was Chapter 2 worth it, basically? Yeah, a bit of a clickbait title, but I basically talked about all the DLC that came out this year, what I liked or disliked, and a little bit about what I wanted to see maybe come in the future. And this basically covers the same stuff, but obviously from Paradox themselves. So we're not going to talk too much about this first part of the year in review, because I have already covered that, and you can watch that video if you'd like to. And as always, I will leave a link to this Dev Diary in the description as well, so you can take a read through it as well. Now, the one interesting thing in this first section is that the community choice poll, which I thought went very well, and they even say here it went very well. It was a cool kind of community engagement thing, and everyone kind of enjoyed voting for their favorite one. And obviously, Wards and Wardens won with 41% of the votes. What they are saying here is that vote isn't actually coming back this year. Now, they did say last time it wasn't guaranteed to come back, but I kind of thought it would with how successful it was. They are saying here they've got like a theme for some content this year that's coming up, and the event pack is going to be part of that. They've already got a perfect event pack in mind, and they don't want to deviate from that for a kind of player vote. So a little bit disappointing, but it'd be interesting to see exactly what this event pack is. You know, if it is maybe a trade core expansion. What's core expansion? We're going to get to that later on. If it is a trade core expansion, maybe the event pack's going to be, you know, Venice goes to, you know, the Crusades or something like that. We'll see, obviously, during 2024. But I did want to call that out because I know some people were wondering if the vote would come back, and they are saying here it is not. And then, as I said, they're just covering really tours and tournaments, saying it went very well. I think Tours and Tournaments, as I said in that other video, is by far the best DLC they've done, especially as the free part of it added so much to the game as well. I'm basically just saying that here. Legacy of Persia. Now, the weird thing is Legacy of Persia, the most recent DLC, I think is really good, but it hasn't really kind of hooked me into coming back to CK3 a lot. And I wonder if that's why some of these changes that are coming in 2024, which they're going to get to very shortly, is why we are not seeing a flavor pack in 2024. A little bit of a spoiler there for you. Whether they've also seen that people aren't really coming in for these flavor packs, and they want these systemic changes to the game rather than just a little bit of flavor here and there. So we will see that obviously during the year. And then general improvements, clans. Clans are far better now than they used to be. I know they're not perfect, but I think they're just so much more fun to play than they were during the base game and up to the latest DLC. And then modifier stacking kind of makes me laugh. This is one of these things that, like, all the time they're always saying, yeah, modifier stacking is getting out of hand. We're going to fix it. We're going to make it less powerful. And then by the end of a chapter cycle, it's basically back to, oh, yeah, it's too powerful. We need to get it back in line. And yeah, there's too many modifiers. And I think we're always going to see that. It happened a lot in CK2, especially by the end. The modifier stacking got ridiculous. And it'd be interesting to see how they are able to balance this. Obviously, some of the systemic changes that are coming to the game this year, I would think, are going to solve some of these issues. I would imagine that is part of the plan. But we will obviously keep a track on that on the channel during 2024. And then here we go. We're on to the main show. What is happening in 2024? So the first thing here is a bit of a mystery, and there's basically no information on it. And that is a new experiment. At the beginning of next year, we've got a small experiment lined up. While they can't go into the details, it is something to do with the game directly, and it involves something they've never done before. They're very excited about it, and they hope we are too. I mean, I guess we could be excited about it. There's literally no information about it, but they do say the idea came directly from the community itself during PDXCon, where the CK3 team interacted with, obviously, people who attended that, and obviously all the messages on the videos and things like that. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below what this is. I have no idea. Originally, I thought, before I read the rest of this post, like, no, don't be a battle pass, like a proper battle pass. Don't do that. And it doesn't sound like that is what it is, thankfully. It's just interesting. It doesn't say. It says something that has to do with the game itself. So that does rule out, I guess, the battle pass kind of thing, because I think they're talking about something in the game itself, as it says, the game directly. Now, one thing I thought this could be, and I think some people would be very excited about this, is maybe unlanded characters, maybe play as a Baron, something like that. Now, personally, I'm not that interested in doing that myself, but, you know, that's just me. You know, if you enjoy doing that, then that's cool. You know, play this game how you want to play it. It doesn't matter what other people think. If you want to play tall, if you want to play RP mode, If you want to just paint the map, do whatever brings you enjoyment. You paid the money for the game. Play it however you want. But it is going to be interesting to see what this is. Now, they do say it's an experiment. So I guess they could put like a unlanded character mode in for like a couple of months. Let us play it for a little bit. See what we like, dislike, give feedback, and then maybe they could change it in the future. Bring it in as a full mode or something like that. It'd be cool to see these experiments. Maybe they could just be testing things in the future. Like, oh, we've got this idea. We're not sure if it's going to work. Let's let the players play it for like a month, see if they enjoy it. Oh, they do. Okay, we'll flesh it out and then bring it in as a proper, maybe free patch or some DLC or something like that. And kind of use this to be a little bit of a test bed for Crusader Kings. But anyway, we're going to leave that bit there. Let me know what you guess in the comments down below. Maybe somebody's figured it out already. I did take a little bit of a look around the internet, and no one really knows exactly what this is going to be. So, yeah, do let me know. Put your guesses in, and we'll see, obviously, very soon. It sounds like maybe February or so we might find out what this is. Or maybe even January they'll start teasing us with what this could be. We are on to Chapter 3. This is a thing everyone came here for. And they will, of course, be having a new chapter in 2024. Pretty obvious. I think everyone thought this chapter system would come back. I think it has worked out quite well for them. I do like that in Chapter 2, they told you what all the DLC was going to be. It sounds like they are going to do that again. So when the first bit gets announced, we are going to know what the future DLC is. Because I'm pretty sure they did. They did tell us that Legacy of Persia was the last one, didn't they? I don't think they said it was just a flavor pack. I'm pretty sure they said these are the DLC that are coming. Let me know in the comments if I am remembering incorrectly, but I'm pretty sure they told us exactly what the DLC was when they announced it, but it has been a while now, so I could be mistaken. But yeah, there is going to be 4 items, including one major expansion. One difference, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is that there will be no flavor pack this time. They are going to be having a core expansion, and they're going to clear up what that is in a second. So yeah, no flavor pack this year, which is an interesting change. I think a lot of people like the flavor packs, but I guess that's some features that don't fit the theme of a flavor pack, which maybe they're trying to get into the game, and the flavor packs will kind of restart in the future and will allow them to kind of fill out the map with flavor, but they want to get those core mechanics in, and that is what they're going to be covering right now. So what is the difference between a major expansion and a core expansion? So immediately I'm going to say, to me anyway, as a layperson, I think it could get pretty complicated that there's major expansions. Well, I guess not complicated. It's not that complicated, is it, to be honest? But I don't know, having major expansions, core expansions, flavor packs, event packs, clothing packs. I mean, I guess the packs kind of talk for themselves. They're called packs. I guess people kind of understand what that is a little bit more. But I don't know, having a major expansion and then a core expansion, maybe they could have used different terminology between the two, but I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? But I don't know, for me, it just sounds a little bit weird that there's 2 kinds of expansions and they're both called expansions. I don't know. Anyway, let's just get on with the video. The new core expansion format refers to the core gameplay loop. So what is the difference between major expansions and core expansions? Well, the core expansion format refers to the core gameplay loop. So that's going to be the major difference. The major expansions are going to be, I think, just like additional features like the court or, you know, traveling and things like that. Whereas the core expansions are going to be more about adding, changing, and updating mechanics that are applicable for most rulers or high impact systems that affect large parts of the world. So I think more about like combat systems, I guess, the economy, not population, because we don't really have population, but maybe disease is going to be the first core expansion. They're going to be more about like, these are big game-wide gameplay mechanics that we're going to update or bring in new ones or do major changes to, and they're going to be these core expansions. It'd be interesting to see exactly how much they cost. Now, it sounds like they fall between a major expansion and a flavor pack. It'll be interesting to see the kind of value proposition from these, because there's going to have to be quite a lot of content for it to be worth more than a flavor pack. But if it's focused on like one mechanic, I'm not sure, like, is that going to be the case? Well, I suppose if they brought in, like, disease as one of these, there's obviously the disease mechanic, all the buildings you could get, I guess clothing. You could also bring in maybe some cool stuff for the travel system, your court, maybe some new layouts for your court and things like that. Or just some new kind of, like, things to build in your court, some guards and things like that. So don't come near me with disease, all that cool stuff. So I guess maybe there could be quite a bit of mechanics and content in there in these new core expansion formats. So it will be interesting to see the kind of price to content ratio for this versus a flavor pack, but we'll find out next year. I guess there's no point going over it too much now. And as they mentioned here, unlike flavor packs, they are obviously very regional in nature. These core expansions are going to be map-wide for the most part by the sounds of it. And then they also go on to clarify major expansions are even wider and will either apply sweeping updates to the world, give you new ways of playing the game, such as new play styles, or both. Now, I think we know what that means. That means Trade and Merchant Republics are definitely going to be a major expansion. Now, is that coming this year? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I would think maybe it would be, but it does seem to call out that new play styles would mean, playing as a Merchant Republic is a new play style. So that will be a major expansion. So yeah, I thought maybe it would be a flavor pack. I guess maybe it would fall under a core expansion. Now we have this new type of DLC. But yeah, definitely major expansion for trade-related stuff in the game, it sounds like. So this means that core expansions are scoped between flavor packs and major expansions, as we were just talking about. They are bigger and more impactful than flavor packs, but smaller and fewer changes than major expansions. And what they want to do is shift between more high-impact content that appeals to the majority of the community. They decided to up their pace and make a core expansion instead of a flavor pack this coming year. So again, I think the game's been out for a couple of years now, and I think they've heard that players really want some of these systems updated, like combat, I would imagine, Trade and Merchant Republics potentially, Disease, the Crusades maybe having a full rework. And it sounds like they're like, look, people do enjoy the flavor packs, but let's get these core systems improved. Let's get them a lot better. Hopefully they don't charge us for too much of it because, I don't really want to pay for something that should be working in a better way anyway. But I would imagine, like all DLC, the core changes, the core mechanical changes are going to be part of the free patch. And then, the cherry on top content is going to be part of the DLC. So hopefully they keep that up. It sounds like they are going to. And obviously a big champion of that myself as well. It's such a better way to make the game than what we did with EU4 and CK2. So as I say here, that's what's going to be happening next year. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I guess until we know the scope of what is coming next year. Now, they did say obviously 4 DLC, so I guess we're getting an expansion pack, a core expansion, event pack, and instant unlock, like the Elegance of the Empire. Is that what they're counting as 4 DLC? Like one of each, basically? It sounds like it, which would match the previous, chapters. They had 3 DLC and then the instant unlock DLC. So it does sound like that's what we're going to be getting. We will obviously see next year. And then as you can see here, the instant unlock is going to be some more garments, some more clothing. A little bit of a spoiler here, the Gilded Angel is a personal highlight of this crown, and it is inspired by the couture of the French. It'll be gilded and lavish, and as with all assets, it'll be real, well-researched and historical is a peak of that said crown. So what is this going to be? It does say the couture of the French. We're going to get some kind of French-themed DLC this year. Potentially, it seems too much of a spoiler that. Maybe it's to kind of throw you off a little bit. It does say limit yourself to obscure hints. It is, here's a specific crown that we can Google, and it is about the French. Well, this specific crown is. So, yeah, who knows? Let me know in the comments down below. I can't recognize it offhand just looking at it now, so I'm sure somebody's already figured out what this kind of free clothing DLC is going to be if you do buy the chapter pack on launch before the DLC comes out. And then next, they're just going to give us a little bit of a spoiler, a little bit of a tease about what these DLC are going to be. So the core expansion will, amongst other features, introduce something that's been frequently requested by you in the community. Without going into too much, it will definitely make the game more challenging, and they've spent a lot of time making it as dynamic and immersive as possible, while also presenting you with a new way to strategize. They're also going to introduce a new feature dripping with medieval flavor, a system that can be used by clever players to really make their mark on the world. All in all, this expansion will leave more towards the systemic side of the game, and then obviously a little bit of a teaser, I guess, with this. Is he playing a lute, I think, by the looks of it? So yeah, 2 things here. 1, a major change to the game that is dynamic and immersive. So we'll cover the second thing first, which is the feature dripping in medieval flavor. I think people have guessed this might be journaling, just like a small kind of feature add-on to the game that people might enjoy and bring a little bit of flavor to the game rather than being, a huge feature that we're all going to use. It'll be like this cool little side thing, like not like playing chess in the game, but this cool little side thing that you can do, but it isn't like a major part of the game that everyone's always going to have to do. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see exactly what that is. And then obviously the major change, this challenging, dynamic, and immersive feature. Is it Disease that would make the game more challenging? It would be dynamic on the map. It would cause major changes to the map as it came in, like it used to do in CK2, especially during the Reaper's Due DLC. That was fantastic for just messing the map up when the Black Death came and things like that. And then immersive, again, as I mentioned before, if you had some events around this, you also could maybe tie it into warfare. Maybe you could have some, bubonic plagued bodies that you're just lobbing over into the enemy, make them sick, make them weak and die off, and then you're just walking in through the gates, an empty place to take over. So that could be what it is. Again, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I would imagine that fits it, but it could be something else as well, obviously. But I would hope it would be disease. I think it'd be a cool feature to bring to the game. And then the next thing is the major expansion. As with the core expansion, the major expansion will focus on several things that have been requested. Some of what they're bringing in this DLC has been asked since the very early days of Crusader Kings as a game series. So this is from, Crusader Kings 1, Crusader Kings 2, and then obviously the latest one. This is something that people have been asking for since the very first one. So I guess this is a feature that they've never had. So maybe this is an unlanded character system. Maybe that is the experimental thing, though, that we talked before. One of the feature sets comes up very frequently when the community talks about Crusader Kings 3. So when we're on Reddit, when we're on Twitter, when we're on the CK3 forums, this is something that we all talk about a lot. So again, maybe unlanded characters. And another is brought up now and again as a powerful player fantasy. No matter what, they promise that this expansion will bring several new and fresh perspectives and should please us regarding which style of expansion you prefer, systemic or roleplay focus. So it is going to be one of these changes, I think very much like the travel system, which is systemic, made major changes to the game. But if you roleplay, it's an amazing system for roleplaying as well. So it sounds like it's going to be one maybe on par with that, or at least kind of the scope of that kind of content coming to the game. And they can barely wait to get it in our hands. And personally, and then they say here, this is one of the expansions they've been wanting to make since the early days of CK2. Its time will come soon. Again, this makes me think unlanded characters, because this has to be something that's not been in Crusader Kings before, but a lot of people have been asking for. And that just sounds like unlanded characters or playing as a Baron. Now, I don't think playing as a Baron would be that fun. Like, unless they bring in some crazy mechanics for it, it's just surely playing as a Count, but with like even less. Like, I get the fantasy of like building your house up from being a Baron, but is it that different from building up as a Count? I'm not too sure myself. But as playing as an unlanded character, I could see maybe that would be interesting if you could like roam the world as a commander or something like that. Maybe you win a war for the Byzantines or something, and they grant you a county, and then that's how your landed dynasty story begins, and then that's what you build up through Crusader Kings. Now that would be awesome, actually. I've only really thought about that right now as I've been talking through this, and that actually sounds really cool. If you could do something like that, maybe you could lead like a Northman army, and you attack, maybe the owner of the land, maybe Normandy goes, hey, look, like, I know you've promised to come here and take over this land for the King of Norway, but how about I give you like 3 of these counties and you become a vassal of mine? And maybe you could go, do you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to do that instead. And I'm just going to sit here and become a count in Normandy. And the King of Norway, well, he's going to be super annoyed that I just took his troops and we just chilled here instead. But that could be pretty cool. A lot of cool stories you could tell with that. So maybe that is what it's going to be. Maybe this GIF gives it away a little bit. I'm not too sure. It just looks like a priest almost to me or something like that. So it doesn't give me any tips as to what this could be, but I'm sure for some of you it might do. And then next we've got the event pack, which is obviously the final bit of DLC. And as they mentioned at the beginning of the video, there is going to be no poll for this because they've got an idea already for a perfect event pack. And I did mention earlier that I thought they were hinting towards the core expansion having journaling. I mean, look at this picture. The event pack is obviously going to be journaling or something along those lines. And I guess depending on what content comes this year, it must fit that in some way. As I said, they had the perfect event pack in mind. So there must be something in either the core expansion or the full major expansion that lends itself to this kind of feature. Maybe it is, again, not to bring it back to unlanded characters. Maybe if you're an unlanded character, you're doing some journaling on your adventures. Maybe you do something with that journal. Maybe you can go to a king and say, look at these amazing journeys I've had. Look at these cool things. I could come to your realm. I can give you my knowledge of these adventures. Why don't you just give me that bit of land and I'll be your steward or something? And then they'd be like, oh yeah, look at this. You've been on the Crusades. You've been adventuring in Africa. You've been to Iceland. You've crossed the Irish Sea or something. I don't know. However that system would work, and you would be able to go and say, look at these adventures I've had. Do you have a position for me? And they go, yep, here's a county. Do this position for 10 years. And then that's how your full Crusader Kings adventure would start and kind of expand on from there. If it works something like that, would be amazing. I just thought of that off the top of my head as I looked at this image. If it worked anything like that, it would be amazing. So we shall see, obviously, when it gets released, as with everything else. And then that's it. As they say here, they'll be back in 2024. I'd imagine like mid to late January, we'll probably start getting either spoilers or some kind of content, some kind of show of what might be coming relatively soon. Because I think Chapter 2 got announced in February or March. Maybe it was earlier than that last year. I should have looked it up, but I totally forgot to. So I would imagine, end of January, early February, we'll start getting either some teasers to the content and then a big announcement. Here is Chapter 3. This is the content that's coming. This is going to be the first bit of content, and off we go. If I had to guess, I'd say we get the major expansion first, and then the core expansion, then the event pack, and obviously the clothing we'd get as part of the buying all of it in one bundle. You get the clothing. I think that just makes sense because I would imagine with the full expansion being game-wide mechanic changes, to me it kind of makes sense for that to be the first bit of DLC because then you're not making changes and then a major expansion kind of overwrites some of those changes and then you've got another smaller DLC afterwards. I think that's how it'll work. Again, for the final time, let me know what you think in the comments down below. But we're going to leave it there for today. As always, hit that like button if you've enjoyed your time here today. I cover grand strategy, historical titles. I do dev diaries, news, we do achievement runs, we do live streams of campaigns, all that good stuff. So make sure to subscribe if you've enjoyed it. But we'll leave it there for today, and I'll see you in the next one.